Hello, 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 and welcome. I am Shane Moore, and this is, of course, the Texas Live podcast coming to you straight out of Texas. I'll be here for the next 3 hours, taking your questions and comments via our live chat and call-in. The show number is 903-956-0055. Outside the U.S., just add a 1 to that. 903-956-0055. Tonight we'll be talking about the Jesuit Order and the Vatican, those who rule the world. And they do rule the world. Trust me. I'll be discussing how the Society of Jesus, also known as the Jesuit Order, is in complete control of the Vatican. They control the United Nations, NATO, the Council of Foreign Relations, various central banks, and certain banks are going to shock you, big corporations, secret services, secret societies, and many, many more institutions and even governments. The Jesuit Order is an almost 500-year-old covert operations, geo-political, male-only organization structured as a secret military organization demanding secret oaths and complete obedience to each direct superior. I'll discuss the origin of the Jesuits, how they operate via deception, and their plans for a new world order. Things are not what they seem. Now, there's been talk about the new world order, and it's been, put off as conspiracy theory and all of that. Okay, well, when you have a United States president, George H.W. Bush, that talked about the new world order, you have to take note. That's not just conspiracy anymore. There's something up, and they're going to great lengths to make sure that they are the architects of this new world order and that it will come about. So, we'll take a short break and allow listeners who want to join our live chat to do so, and I encourage you to do so. Even if you're a new listener, please take part in our live chat. It makes the show much more, it just gives it life. I feed off of your comments, your questions, and ideas. So please take part. Like I said, we'll take a short break, and I'll be back in 3 minutes.
Without any warning, we're sucking up the oxygen. The room is getting smaller. We always have it coming, like animals who like to bite, tasting our disaster. 20-something seconds go on and on. 20-something seconds go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go, I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. I'm ready to absorb you, feeding on your triggered lies. My ignorance defines you. The roof is gonna cave in. Roaring with some dinosaurs, so caught up in the moment. 20-something seconds go on and on. 20-something seconds go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. Hey, 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 if we promise to hold on and to never let go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. I know we can do better. I'm not ready for darkness. If we promise to hold on and to never let go. I'm not ready for darkness. I'm not ready for darkness. Hey, 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 hey.
And I am back. Hello, Mona, Elaine, and Georgia. Glad you're all here. Yes, tonight we'll be talking about the Jesuit Order. And there's so much to it. It's just in-depth. It is an octopus. Its tentacles are everywhere, so just bear with me and we'll get through this. I would like to read the words of John F. Kennedy, his Secret Society speech that he made on April 27th, 1961. It says, quote, "The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, for we are as a people inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret proceedings, and to secret oaths. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic, ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed." End of quote. John F. Kennedy. Again, he made that speech April 27th, 1961, and was assassinated November 22nd, 1963. The very words that he used were, he was describing the Jesuits. He was describing the Jesuits to a T. They are a secret society. They have secret proceedings, and they have secret oaths. And they're not just for mere talk. They're not wasting their breath. They are very, very serious oaths that these people, these members take They take them very seriously. And they're not playing. Now, you want to talk about the true power that's transforming our world, that's guiding it, that causes, I don't know, these false flag operations, wars, conflicts, everything. For the last 500 years, it has been orchestrated and promulgated and pushed by the Jesuits. And they go by the name, the Society of Jesus, which sounds very harmless. Nothing could be further from the truth. Again, the Jesuit Order is an almost 500-year-old covert operations, geo-political, male-only organization structured as a secret military operation. They demand secret oaths and complete obedience to each direct superior. Now, the superior is to them, their superior, and each member of the order has a superior that they answer to, or that directs them. And it's much like the mafia, believe it or not, but probably worse. In fact, I believe it is. They are instructed that if their superior were to call on them to murder their own mother, they would do so without blinking an eye, without questioning it. They would just do it. Their superior is their God on earth. That's just as simple as I can put it. What they say goes. And there's many theories about the Titanic, believe it or not. And this is just an example of how serious and how powerful the Jesuits are. And the superior, as far the superior's power, his authority that he has over the one under him, the one who answers to him. It's been said that the captain of the Titanic was a Jesuit, okay? And now, keep in mind, there are Jesuits who are, they're not actually priests, but they act according to the wishes of the order. They're married. There's celebrities that are Jesuit operatives. I'm not sure what they call them exactly, but they work towards the wishes and the plans and the directives of the Jesuit order. Now, it's been said that Willie Nelson is a Jesuit operative. And I'm not sure what the term is. I can look it up, or Mona, if you could look it up, please, what the term is for the Jesuit who is not a priest, like the civilian Jesuit or whatever. But it's been said that Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson are Jesuit operatives. And I'll just use the word operative right now. But this is how this works, is the captain of the Titanic, it's been said that he was a Jesuit operative, and that his superior told him, sink that ship. Make sure it's on the bottom of the ocean. Okay. The reason is because there were very rich, powerful men. In today's standards, they would be billionaires or close to it. They were heading to New York to set up businesses. They were bringing big money, big plans to the United States. Well, those men that were on the Titanic, like Astor, and there were many others with big money, they were a threat to the Jesuits, and that's why that the captain was told, sink the ship. It didn't matter that there would be, 1,500 plus people that would die because of it. Didn't matter. But there was a Jesuit priest that was on the ship, that was on the Titanic, before it sailed to New York. And there was a telegram that was wired to this priest, and it was 4 words from his superior. And the 4 words were, "Get off that ship." And he did. Why is that? Because it was doomed. It was doomed before it left port. So you take that, and that was in 1912. Okay, and that's probably one of the lesser tragedies, one of the lesser things that the Jesuits have been guilty of, or been responsible for. As far as world wars, it's they have worked with the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church. I'd say church, and yeah, it's some church, isn't it? It's an institution, is what it is. It's not a church. It is not a church. It wears the mask of spirituality, but it is religion, and religion is nothing but a mask. It's an act. The Vatican has so much power. They have political power, they have military power, and they have financial power. It's insane. The Jesuits, they're in charge of, they control so many different things. I should say the Jesuits that they control with the military order of Malta, the Knights of Malta. Now, one has to look into these secret societies to... Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, Mona. Jesuits who aren't priests are just known as Jesuits. Okay. So it's been said that Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson are Jesuits. The investigative reporter or investigator, whatever, journalist Alex Jones in Austin, the guy that has the gravelly voice and just absolutely, sometimes he acts like he has a rabies, literally like rabies. I mean, the guy has gone bonkers and crying because, I don't know, I mean, he just goes off and just absolutely a nutcase. I used to listen to him, but I didn't believe what he was saying. But now I can't even listen to him because he's He's so crazy. But Alex Jones talks about so many things. The New World Order, all these bad guys and bad organizations. But there's one organization he does not speak about. He does not speak against. And he's been asked about it. He's been asked why he doesn't. And I have yet to hear him give an explanation on why he doesn't. He never speaks out against the Jesuits. Now, a few years ago, Charlie Sheen, yes, Charlie Sheen, was on Alex Jones' radio show. And they were talking about all the things going on. Charlie Sheen, supposedly caught on to a lot of things that were going on, and a lot of secretive things and behind the scenes, and kind of got a glimpse of what was going on. It's been said that Charlie Sheen is a Jesuit, and that would not surprise me because his father is a Jesuit. Martin Sheen is a Jesuit. Charlie Sheen, has been said, is a Jesuit. He was on Alex Jones' show. They were talking about everybody and everything but the most important group, the Jesuits. Would not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Now, Alex Jones is the one that went into the Bohemian Grove with a hidden camera and outed all those politicians and billionaires that were running naked in the redwood forests, having their rituals and everything. Yeah, he can do that. That doesn't frighten him. But even speaking out against the Jesuits is something that he will not do. Okay. They demand complete obedience to each direct superior, which is ultimately the superior general, often nicknamed as the Black Pope, since he dresses in black and stands in the shadow of the White Pope. The Society of Jesus, as they are officially known, was originally used by the Vatican to counter the various Reformation movements in Europe, to which the Vatican lost much of its religious and political power. So, the Jesuits are the strong arm of the Vatican. But not only are they the strong arm, what they say goes. It's not the White Pope. It's not Pope Francis, which Pope Francis is the first Jesuit Pope, believe it or not. There never has been a Jesuit priest who has been a pope until Pope Francis. But the Black Pope, the Superior General, he directs the White Pope. It's like the White Pope has power, but the White Pope compared to the Jesuit Black Pope he's a puppet. He's just a front man. So, the Jesuit Order, since 1814, has been in complete control of the obscenely wealthy Vatican institution and its Catholic clergy hierarchy, and presently also controls various other organizations as well. And I listed some of those. Some of the others are the European Commission and Opus Dei, which some of you have heard of. They control the American Medical Association, the American Dental Association, and the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. So you see, they, when I said that they're like an octopus, they have their tentacles everywhere. Healthcare, it's controlled by the Jesuits. When you go to the doctor and he writes a prescription, the Jesuits are in control of medical care, health care. They're in charge of the pharmaceutical industry that treats diseases, but they don't cure diseases. There's a reason for that, and I'll touch on that later. It is also important to note that the Jesuit-controlled Vatican, since 1929, being cast as a sovereign microstate called Vatican City with its own head of state and cabinet, central bank, jurisdiction rules, some 147 international agreements, diplomatic treaties, which were formerly called concordants or Lateran treaties, which grant the Vatican special national privileges. Large radial underground network of secret archives estimated at 84 kilometers of shelving space, and a large collection of ancient artworks in the Vatican museums. The Universal Inquisition Office, headed by the American William Levada since 2000, an Italian police force, and a Swiss military guard consisting of only Catholic single males with Swiss citizenship and Swiss military training. So, the Jesuit Order, the Catholic clergy, and the Military Order of Malta, and many of the other papal and royal military orders have an extremely patriarchal culture. This type of rigid social structure is just one of the main aspects of fascist groups. The Jesuits have no women. They have no love of a woman. Because to have a wife, to have a woman, means you have an allegiance to your wife and family, and you cannot obey your superior or the superior general. That's why that a Jesuit priest will never be married, and that's one of the great keys to their success. Now, that's not saying that that the Jesuits, who aren't priests, that they're not, of course they're married. I mean, they can do that. And that's not saying that marriage, that not getting married, not having a family, is the key to success. But you have to admit, when someone is that focused, when someone is that driven to give up everything, and they do, it's like they give up their identity, which is exactly what they do. They give up their identity to the order. Today, the Jesuit Order has about 19,000 members. About 13,500 priest members. Some have taken the fourth vow, secret oath, in which killing a heretic is not considered a crime. Yes, that's true. The ranks of Jesuits are thinning from 36,000 members at the order's zenith in the mid-1960s to 26,000 in 1983 to 23,000 in 1995. The Jesuits are geographically organized by 61 provinces, which each belong to one of the 10 assistancies around the world. The Military Order of Malta has about 12,500 members, excluding volunteers, and Opus Dei has about 26,000 celibate members, excluding volunteers. Now, this is where it gets controversial. I'm gonna go out on a limb anyway. The Vatican Jesuit Masonic crusades up to our present time show their criminal full-spectrum dominance doctrine that's effectuated all over the world by war, genocide, depopulation, political subversions, economic slavery, poor quality nutrition, healthcare and housing, government propaganda via education, media, science, and religion, suppression of sovereignty, consciousness, and spirituality. There you go. Now, some of the recent examples of the genocide and depopulation are the Canadian Natives genocide between 1880 and 1984, the Vatican managed Serbian genocide during World War II with an ongoing U.S. court case, and the ongoing Shia Muslim genocide in Iraq with over 1,217,892 deaths. Okay. The Vatican Jesuit Masonic Network, and when I say Masonic, I'm talking about the Freemasons. The Freemasons are the continuation of the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar were rounded up, and the order was banned. It was supposedly ended Friday, October the 13th, 1307. But many of the Templars escaped and went to Scotland and Ireland and continued as Freemasons. The network operates mainly out of the following cities: Vatican City, Rome, Italy, which is the religious center. Sovereign state since 1929. So, keep that in mind. You have the religious center. That's covered. Vatican City, Rome. Then you have the city of London, United Kingdom, which is the economic center. Sovereign state since 1649, owned by the City of London Corporation. And then you have the District of Columbia, which includes Washington, D.C., and it is the military center. So you have the religious center, you have the economic center, and you have the military center. So, the District of Columbia Act of 1871 turned Washington, D.C. into a municipal corporation. Congress has the supreme authority over the city and the federal district, with its own special constitutional amendment since 1961. So, it's not actually a part of the United States. It's a corporation. There is an increasingly common belief among many that this act has overturned the United States constitutional republic. These theorists state that the corporate U.S. is actually operating under the name United States of America, noting the capital letters as a distinction from the constitutional republic. And that goes for every person too. When you receive something from the government, your name is in all capital letters. And some have said that you are a corporate entity for the United States, for the District of Columbia Corporation, I should say. The Jesuit bishop John Carroll was probably the richest man in America in the late 1700s. John Carroll allowed funding to construct Washington, D.C., which is nicknamed Rome on the Potomac. The owner of the land used to be Francis Pope, and his priest was Jesuit Andrew White. Now get this, I didn't know this. Washington, D.C.'s original name was Rome, Maryland, and a branch of the Potomac River was called Tiber Creek, which was named after the Tiber River in Rome. Like Rome, Washington, D.C. has 7 hills, whose names are Capitol Hill, Meridian Hill, Floral Hills, Forest Hills, Hillbrook, Hillcrest, and Knox Hill. Other Masonic elements in this city: Jesuit Georgetown University, the Masonic Street Layout and Monuments, and the 2008 World Conference of Masonic Grand Lodges. Other important cities: New York, Brussels, Paris, and the various microstates: Luxembourg, Strasbourg, Moscow, Hong Kong. And another important city, Geneva. What's in Geneva? Can you say CERN? You know, hey, everything goes back to CERN. I mean, it's just a recurring theme. I mean, it's cycles, it's circuits. It just goes back. It just returns to CERN. Return to CERN. CERN, of course, is where the Large Hadron Collider is, where a lot of weird stuff's going on. And trust me, the Vatican and the Jesuits, they have their hands in CERN big time. I'm talking, there's been talk about, funding for CERN. Where does the money come from? Because it's a lot of money. I'm talking billions. Where does the funding come from? Private donors? I don't think so. Well, not individual private donors. But you can rest assured that the Vatican, the Jesuit-controlled Vatican, they're the ones pouring the billions of dollars into CERN. And I was talking to Mona last night about this. The main objective of CERN, besides being the origin or the place that created the internet, the World Wide Web, was to discover the Higgs boson, also known as the God particle, that supposedly made up matter, that held matter together or whatever. And they found it, but they're pretty happy. I mean, pretty pleased, but they're still going. And now they have plans to build a particle accelerator 4 times the size of the one now. Why? Well, I've done some research, and their goal now is to understand dark matter. Okay. Now, this is just my opinion. This is just my personal analysis on this. It's been said that we. Let's see, Elaine. You said you talked about CERN and my laptop shut down, and now I have no sound at all. Georgia, you're right. Futile efforts when everything everything is infinite. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna send Elaine a message, since she can't hear now. But it's been said that we experience, or we know, experience approximately 2 to 3% of the universe and reality around us. Everything else is like 97%, 97 or 98% of reality we don't experience, because there's the color spectrum, there's the radio wave spectrum. I mean, it's it's such a small fraction of what we experience that it's just unbelievable. I mean, when I was a child, I knew there was more, but I didn't know that there was 97 or 98% that we just didn't experience, that is probably more real than what we do experience. Okay, now we've all heard the term or the phrase, the universe inside of us. I mean, William Blake, the painter, artist, poet, he wrote poems about it, and about the universe being within us. People say, well, we're stardust, we came from the stars and all that. Okay. Our DNA has been studied, and what is known as the genome is approximately 2 to 3% of our DNA. 97 to 98% of our DNA is considered junk DNA. Now, the only reason that it's considered junk DNA is because they don't understand it. They can't read it. They can't explain it. Just because you can't explain something doesn't mean that it's junk, that it's useless. And that is what I believe is CERN's plan. CERN knows that it's not junk. They want to know how to access it. They want to know how to activate it. They want to know how it works before we do. Because that is where true power is. That's where true spiritual power is. And believe it or not, this is a spiritual war. This is not an arms race or anything like that. Not a physical arms race. This is a spiritual arms race. And they want to know how it works, why it works, all the ins and outs before someone else does, before, as they would say, the common people do, because that would put them at a disadvantage as far as knowledge, and they never want that. So in my opinion, it's not that they're just trying to understand dark matter, the dark matter of the universe. They're trying to understand, they're trying to learn how to read or how to code or encode DNA. How to turn I'm just going to say dark, the dark DNA. It's not junk. They're trying to learn how to turn it off and turn it on. Turn it off for some people and turn it on for themselves, probably, is what the deal is. So, could it be that's just that's a ruse, that's a metaphor, that they're trying to understand dark matter of the universe when they're actually studying the ins and outs of our DNA, because that's another thing, is every path that I take, every lead that I have, it goes back to CERN, and it goes back to DNA. And that's the only two things. With those two things, that's the only thing that I can come up with that makes any sense at all, is that they want to know how to read the DNA, how to understand it. Now, there was an article that I read this morning that scientists had, or I should say computer scientists, working with biologists, they had successfully programmed DNA with a computer virus. Yes. And the DNA accepted it. I mean, it's digital. The computer virus was digital. And so the only way that you could explain how it would even work in DNA is obvious. It's as plain as the nose on your face. DNA has to be somehow digital, somehow computerized. It has to be a program. It has to be a code. And I have always said, look at words, look at languages, look how words are used, look at how words are spelled, how they're pronounced. Okay, what are the building blocks of DNA? Well, they're the CATG, and there's 3 letters that are used to make up 20 amino acids that make up proteins that make up, the human genome. Okay, well, you take those 3 of the sequences. Those sequences are called codons. Codons. They're codes. Like computer code. And I'm going to locate that article. Just a second. It's mind-blowing, because if this is the case, then and it seems to be, then the truth is that CERN, funded by the Vatican, the Jesuits, and a lot of other places, a lot of other people, these are just the main ones, they're literally trying to really, I don't know, learn the genetic code, and who knows what. Happy Valentine's Day to you, Mona, Georgia. Yep, it just happened here, so and I'm not going to be the party pooper and talk about what Valentine's really means. Okay, so enough of that. Anyway, yes. Yeah, okay. Wow, that's weird. But anyway, the DNA, if we use 2 to 3% of our DNA, then imagine if we used 50%. Imagine if we used 60. Imagine if we used 100%. What would that mean? I mean, can we even comprehend what that would mean? Can we even imagine? Well, the powers that be, they don't want us to know. They don't want us to use 20%. Let me see. Okay. All right. Scientists take over computer by encoding malware into DNA. This is from the Atlantic Science magazine. The scientists took over a computer by encoding malware in DNA. Scientists have used DNA to store books, recordings, gifts, and even an Amazon gift card. I am not making this up. So, it says, there's no immediate threat, but as sequencing becomes more commonplace, researchers face security risks. Okay. This was done at the University of Washington, the Computer Security and Privacy Research Lab. Yeah, wow. I mean, that's what I've been saying. And truthfully, I've been wondering why that I just cannot get this off my mind about the simulated reality, And it's come to the point to where that I believe that we're living in a simulation. I don't believe that we're living in base reality. And the damnable part about that is there's no way that we can tell if we were living in a simulated reality, because any proof that we get may be simulated. But this gives a lot of credence, a lot of information that points to that we are. DNA is fundamentally a way of storing information. Usually it encodes instructions for making living things, but it can be conscripted for other purposes. Now, I did not know that. But I knew that DNA somehow, some way was carried memories and I believe in genetic memory. I believe that people, that they carry within their DNA things, experiences that their ancestors have had. But I knew that it was computer-like, but I didn't really think that you could actually interact with it. That you could actually download things into it. I mean, that's unsettling. Why is that? Because if you can, then what does that make our bodies? AI. I mean, there's no other way to put it. AI. What is real? I don't know anymore. I guess real is what you make your mind up to be real. But as far as our physical body, if our DNA can be encoded with digital information, with computer codes, then that pretty much tells us that our physical bodies are artificial intelligence, that they're just they're vehicles that we use, that the true us, the true you, your spirit uses to get around in this three-dimensional world. It says scientists have used DNA to store books, recordings, gifts, and even an Amazon gift card. And now, for the first time, researchers from the University of Washington have managed to take over a computer by encoding a malicious program in DNA. Strands of DNA are made from 4 building blocks represented by the letters A, C, G, and T. These letters can be used to represent the ones and zeros of computer programs, the binary code. That's what the Washington team did. They converted a piece of malware into physical DNA strands. When those strands were sequenced, the malware launched and compromised the computer that was analyzing the sequences, allowing the team to take control of it. The present-day threat is very small, and people don't need to lose sleep immediately. Yeah, right. Says Tadayoshi Kono, a computer security expert who led the team. But we wanted to know what was the possible and what the issues are down the line. The consequences of such attacks will become more severe as sequencing becomes more commonplace. In the early 2000s, it cost around $100 million to sequence a single human genome. Now you can do it for less than 1,000. Whoa. That's incredible. The technology is not just cheaper, but also simpler and more portable. There are even pocket-sized sequencers that allow people to analyze DNA in space stations, classrooms, and jungle camps. But with great ubiquity comes great vulnerability. DNA is commonly used in forensics, so if troublemakers could hack sequencing machines or software, they could change the course of an investigation by altering genetic data. Or if machines are processing confidential data about genetically modified organisms, hackers could steal intellectual property. There's also the matter of personal genetic data. The United States is currently trying to sequence the DNA of at least 1 million Americans to pave the way for precise medicine where treatments are tailored to an individual's genes. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Again, they don't want to cure diseases. They want to treat diseases. Curing diseases doesn't make money, doesn't keep the money coming in. Treating the disease does. It says that data is very sensitive, says Peter Ney, a student in Kono's lab. If you can compromise the sequencing pipeline, you could steal that data or manipulate it to make it seem like people have genetic diseases they don't have. Now, that's another thing that, people taking these tests, DNA tests, and they're sending their DNA off, to get it, looked at, their genealogy, this and that, for whatever reason. I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't do it. That's what they want. They want your DNA, which they already have it. When you were born, they took it. Did they ask your parents? Did they ask your parent if they could take your DNA sample? No. They took it. It's just, they took it because that's what they do. The needle where they prick your heel as a baby, and they take the blood sample or whatever. There you go. They've got your DNA. And it's on file. And those of you that have listened to the podcast before, you know where it's on file at. So many people have said, well, if they've got your DNA, then they've got a direct access. They have direct access to you, because everyone's DNA has a unique biofrequency that is unique to each individual. And I believe that there is technology now, much like a radio, where you can tune in to these micro stations. They can tune in to each person's biofrequency, and pretty much I don't know what they can do with that, but that's a way of monitoring, or at least tracking someone, if that's possible, and I believe it is. So that's why that there's a push for the DNA and everything. And then about 2 weeks ago, it came out that I believe it was the Family Tree DNA online, where they're, send in your DNA and learn about your ancestry. It turned out that they were giving the DNA samples to the FBI. Yes. I'm not going to gloat. I'm not going to say, told you so, but that's what I've been saying. Because for some reason, they want everyone's DNA, but they've already got it, right? They already have it. If you were born in the United States, I'm not sure about other countries, but if you were born in the United States, they've got your DNA. The only reason that they would want it now is to find those who, Georgia. Yeah, you say unsurprising, and you've been saying it too, I know. But think about this. Why would they want our DNA now? Think about it. They want to find out who has activated and how much they've activated their DNA. How much of that junk DNA is now working, is now activated. That's what they want it for. And I guarantee you, if if they find, and this is just, this is just me, this is my opinion, if they find someone who has activated, I don't know, 5%, I don't know, 3% over what they had when they were born, or 20%, God forbid, you're going to probably spend the rest of your days being studied like a lab rat or explaining to them, teaching them, yes, explaining to them, teaching to them how you activated it, because they don't know, and they want to know so bad. So that's what I believe that they're doing, is they're searching, and pretty soon I believe it's going to be mandatory that everyone gives, it's going to be something like for national security. There's going to be some kind of BS like that. We need DNA samples from every citizen so we can, we can do this or we can do that for your safety. And no, it's not. It is not. So that is proof that that our DNA is a type of computer program. Let's see, George, you say Gattaca, everyone's going to be on a freaking register. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And not to be preaching or anything, but that's what the Bible says. It says that, talking about the Antichrist, it says, and he calls us all, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark on their right hand or their forehead, and without the mark they could not buy or sell. Well, how would they know if you were buying or selling something? Unless you were on a register and you were being monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What else could monitor you like that? I don't believe that the quote-unquote mark of the beast is any kind of a RFID chip or whatever, that people are like, oh, I'll never take the chip, I won't do that, but I'll send in my DNA and, just give away my, the instructions for my creation. Hell yeah, I'll do that, but I'm not going to take a chip. I think I'd rather take the chip than to send someone my blueprint, my genetic blueprint. I believe that the mark of the beast is going to be those who want to be part of the system, and knowingly they will give their DNA. And this is the way I see it. When they do that, then the register or the registry, or it will be filed, or better yet, it will be computerized. And the computer, which will be a quantum computer, will send out that certain frequency, and somehow, some way, it will resonate with every person's biofrequency, unique biofrequency, their genetic biofrequency, and it will come back to that quantum computer that will be able to monitor everything they do. They won't need a chip to pass by, to open doors and to this and that, to go to work, to show their ID. It will be their DNA. Will their DNA be changed? I don't know. I think it'll be changed somewhat when they... DNA, and this is another thing, DNA, and we're kind of getting off topic here, but I just want to say this. DNA can be programmed by intention. And I have read that over and over and over again. And I believe it. DNA can be programmed just like a computer by your intention. So if you think about it, if your intention is to be a part of this world system, Georgia, you say, yes, I'm reading about this now. Are you serious? Georgia, I feel sorry for you. We're on the same wavelengths. You're accessing my mind, which is scary. Please don't get lost in there. Well, do you care to share what you're finding out? I mean, because a lot of people would say, that's not possible. Yes, it is. It is possible. And it does happen. It is happening now with every person. Okay. The thing is if your intention is to stay out of this world system, which is not going to be anything good. It's going to be total domination. We're talking where the state, the government, state government and religion are no longer separate. They're one. And you're not going to have the freedom to choose your religion. Does that sound familiar? Because the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, through the Jesuits, through the Crusades, and it's still going on. They murder, commit genocide, men, women, and children, makes no difference to them, to anyone who does not convert to Roman Catholicism. Matter of fact, the Jesuits, and I'll read their induction, or I can't even think of the name of it now, but their code that they go by, and it says that if men, doesn't matter if it's a man, a woman, a child, or even a pregnant woman, it says if they will not accept the religion of the Catholic Church and will not recognize the Pope as basically as God on earth, it says kill them. Matter of fact, it says rip the babies out of their stomachs. Yeah, it does. And they have done that, and worse, throughout history. But you don't read about that anymore, because they've made sure to suppress everything that they've done throughout history. The Inquisition, what we read about the Inquisition, as horrible as the Inquisition was, trust me, that's just the tip of the iceberg of what they really did. Georgia, you say, yeah, so it's the Joe Dispenza book again, and he talks about gene expression being related to the environment rather than being set in stone. And the environmental factors are something we have control over. Not only the things we do from day to day and where we live, etc., but more like the thoughts we think. And you say intention. That's the most important thing. The first meditation in the book is about combining an intention with a feeling, typical law of attraction, manifestation kind of stuff. It's also really detailed in looking at how we expend our energy being tied up in the past and future, and that where you need to be mentally is the unknown with intent. That's right. That's absolutely right. And you're kind of freaking me out because I wasn't reading that from anything but my mind, from the brain of Shane, and lo and behold, you said that you're reading about it. So that's pretty strange, Georgia. Anyway, so it says, we want to understand and anticipate what the hot new technologies will be over the next 10 to 15 years and stay one step ahead of the bad guys. This is what this guy's saying. In 2008, his team showed that they could wirelessly hack their way into a heart implant and reprogram it to either shut down or deliver debilitating jolts. Well. Now the truth's coming out. That's what I'm talking about. Is that will be what the Bible's talking about as far as the mark of the beast, that no man will be able, no one will be able to buy or sell unless they had the mark of the beast or the number of his name. And that's just talk. That's just words for, I believe, DNA. That intention, that mindset that you are following, that you want to be a part of that system or whatever. So anyway, so this says yes, or shut down or deliver debilitating jolts. In 2010, they showed that they could hack into the control system of a Chevrolet Impala, taking control of the car. Then they turned their attention to DNA sequencing. It's an emerging field that other security researchers haven't looked at, so the intrigue was there, says Kono. Could we compromise a computer system with DNA biomolecules? They could, but reassuringly it wasn't easy. To make their malware work, the team introduced a vulnerability into a program that's commonly used to analyze DNA data files. Then they exploited that weakness. That's a bit of a cheat, but the system showed that such vulnerabilities are common in software for analyzing DNA. And then it just goes on that earlier this year, which was last year actually, they encoded a computer virus in DNA, but he didn't code it so that it would launch on its own when the DNA was sequenced. In practice, the team's malware would create a glitch that most sequencing centers would spot and fix. An adversary could only assume control of a compromised computer if they had impeccable timing and struck immediately after the strands were sequenced. So, are we talking about taking over a person? Well, maybe so. I mean, if you can access their DNA, if you can control their DNA, you can wreak havoc with them. He says, my hope is that over the next 5 to 10 years, people take a strong interest in DNA security and proactively harden their systems against adversarial threats. We don't know of any such threats arising yet, and we hope that they'll never manifest. Well, you know what? You can hope all you want to, but rest assured it's already in the works, if it hasn't happened already. So, anyway, the back to the Jesuits. In general, it can be said that the Jesuits are mainly involved in miseducation. So what I've said is that schools and colleges, they don't educate, they indoctrinate. When you were going to school or college, were you allowed to think for yourself? Was free thinking encouraged? Absolutely not. Trust me, I know. They hate anyone who thinks for themselves. They hate anyone who is a free thinker, who doesn't doesn't accept what they say just because they say it. They don't want anyone asking questions. They don't want anyone questioning truth. So, miseducation. This is their main avenue for initial and sustained political control. Through the socially, historically, and scientifically flawed education of millions, youngsters and adults, in addition, being able to observe and direct the professional path of the brightest students can help further their own neurotic agenda, or at least not obstruct it. Consciousness influencing, aka mind control, through cultural and behavioral consensus trance shaping is their sacred and secret soul science. Their deviance science of governing with the matrix of mental control, which has been developed by the neurotic priesthood and implemented via their Masonic networks for thousands of years. Can enough individuals break that magic trance spell to stop the mass neurosis of humanity, which puts us into a world of tragedy and pain? Sciences and university research funding for the purpose of socio-psychological control, subjects, politics, civics, law, military science, sociology, media, healthcare, psychiatry, Romanized history, astronomy, pseudo-philosophy about culture, science, civics, ethics, morality, and religion. Prominent elite schools include Stonyhurst College in the UK, founded in 1593, Georgetown University, United States, founded 1634, Fordham University, United States, founded 1841, and Fairfield University, United States, founded 1942. Now, isn't it something that a lot of our presidents have gone to Georgetown University? A lot of our politicians and presidents and vice presidents and speakers of the House and senators have gone to Georgetown University or Fordham University. And a lot of them have. In 1940, Nelson Rockefeller, who is a Knight of Malta, was named coordinator of the Inter-American Affairs. More than 200 current former heads of state, 1,500 cabinet-level ministers, and many other distinguished world leaders in government and the private sector have participated in the Jesuit-funded International Visitor Leadership Program. Now, they're also responsible for religious perversions and propaganda, which include cult promotion, Catholicism and its variations and infiltrations, Freemasonry, mysticism, New Ageism, mainly used for disinfo and distraction, but sometimes for the cover-up of advanced energy military research. Cult and disinformation promotion is also done using popularized films, books, websites, and events related to these topics. Then there is the Catholic bringing everyone into the Catholic religion through the Mennonite World Conference, and it gives the dates 1925, 1936, 1937, 1947, 1959, 1970, and on and on and on. I believe that is going to be the world religion, that you are either going to accept Roman Catholicism as your religion or die. And that's what the Bible says. And when we come back in 3 minutes, I will read from the Jesuit rules, their from what they go by, and it is absolutely shocking. So be right back, and so don't go anywhere.
Let's stand together, put a smile on
And I am back. Okay, going to read just a little bit of the Jesuit Oath, and trust me, it'll be enough. This is the text of the Jesuit Extreme Oath of Induction as recorded in the journals of the 62nd Congress, 3rd Session of the United States Congressional Record, House Calendar number 397, report number 1523, February 15th, 1913, pages 3,215 to 3,216, from which it was subsequently torn out. The oath is also quoted by Charles Didier in his book Subterranean Rome, which was written in 1843, translated from the French original. Dr. Alberto Riviera, who escaped from the Jesuit Order in 1967, confirmed that the induction ceremony and the text of the Jesuit oath which he took were identical to what we have cited, to what is cited below. And in 2007, I believe, Dr. Alberto Riviera died from being poisoned. So they got to him. It says, and when a Jesuit of the minor rank is to be elevated to command, he is conducted into the chapel of the covenant of the order, where there are only 3 others present, the principal or superior standing in front of the altar. On either side stands a monk, one of whom holds a banner of yellow and white, which are the papal colors, and the other a black banner with a dagger and a red cross above a skull and crossbones, with the letters INRI, and below them the words Istum Necar Regis Impious, the meaning of which it is just to exterminate or annihilate impious or heretical kings, governments, or rulers. Upon the floor is a red cross at which the candidate kneels. The superior hands him a small black crucifix which he takes in his left hand and presses to his heart, and the superior at the same time presents to him a dagger which he grasps by the blade and holds the point against his heart, the superior still holding it by the hilt, and thus addresses the candidate. The superior speaks, "My son, heretofore you have been taught to act the dissembler among Roman Catholics, to be a Roman Catholic, and to be a spy even among your own brethren, to believe no man, to trust no man. Among the reformers, to be a reformer. Among the Huguenots, to be a Huguenot. Among the Calvinists, to be a Calvinist. Among other Protestants, generally to be a Protestant. And obtaining their confidence, to seek even to preach from their pulpits, to denounce with all the vehemence in your nature our holy religion and the Pope, and even to descend so low as to become a Jew among Jews, that you might be enabled to gather all information for the benefit of your order as a faithful soldier of the Pope. You have been taught to plant insidiously the seeds of jealousy and hatred between communities, provinces, states that were at peace, and to incite them to deeds of blood involving them in war with each other, and to create revolutions and civil wars in countries that were independent and prosperous, cultivating the arts and sciences and enjoying the blessings of peace, to take sides with the combatants and to act secretly with your brother Jesuit, who might be engaged on the other side, but openly opposed to that with which you might be connected, only that the Church might be the gainer in the end, in the conditions fixed in the treaties for peace, and that the end justifies the means. And that is their main motto. That's their motto, is the end justifies the means, no matter what. It doesn't matter how many people die. It doesn't matter how much suffering there is. They're the authors of Order Out of Chaos. The end justifies the means. You've been taught your duty as a spy to gather all statistics, facts, and information in your power from every source, to integrate yourself into the confidence of the family circle of Protestants and heretics of every class and character, as well as that of the merchant, the banker, the lawyer, among the schools, university, and parliaments, legislatures, judiciaries, and councils of state, and to be all things to all men for the Pope's sake, whose servants we are unto death. You have received your instructions as a novice, a neophyte, and have served as a coadjutor, confessor, and priest, but you have not yet been invested with all that is necessary to command in the army of Loyola, in the service of the Pope, which is the founder of the Jesuits. You must serve the proper time as the instrument and executioner as directed by your superiors, for none can command here who has not consecrated his labors with the blood of the heretic. For without the shedding of blood, no man can be saved. Therefore, fit yourself for work and make your own salvation sure. You will, in addition to your former oath of obedience to your order and allegiance to the Pope, repeat after me. And it says, I, and then they name their name. Now in the presence of Almighty God, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Blessed St. John the Baptist, the Holy Apostles, Peter and Paul, and all the saints, sacred host of heaven, and to you, my ghostly father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, founded by St. Ignatius Loyola, in the pontification of Paul III, and continued to the present, do by the womb of the Virgin, the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vice-regent, and is the true and only head of the Catholic or universal Church throughout the earth, and that by the virtue of the keys of binding and loosing given to His Holiness by my Savior Jesus Christ, He has power to dispose heretical kings, princes, states, commonwealths, and governments, and that they may be safely destroyed. Remember last podcast when I talked about the power the Pope has? Yeah, when you can destroy kings, states, commonwealths, and governments, you've got power. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I will defend this doctrine and His Holiness's right and custom against all usurpers of the heretical or Protestant authority, whatever, especially the Lutheran Church of Germany, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, and the now pretended authority and churches of England and Scotland, and the branches of the same now established in Ireland, on the continent of America, and elsewhere, and all adherents in regard that they may be usurped and heretical, opposing the Sacred Mother Church of Rome. Mona, sometimes I just want to take the red pill. This is so disturbing. Yes, they probably meant this to be upsetting, but I guess I'm just sick because it's exciting me. I'm getting excited, and I don't know why, really. I guess I just like the odds. But anyway, it says, I do now denounce and disown any allegiance as due to any heretical king, prince of state, named Protestant or liberal, or obedience to any of their laws, magistrates, or officers. I do further declare the doctrine of the churches of England and Scotland of the Calvinist Huguenots, and others of the name of Protestants or Masons to be damnable, and they themselves to be damned who will not forsake the same. I do further declare that I will help, assist, and advise all or any of His Holiness's agents in any place where I should be, in Switzerland, Germany, Holland, Ireland, or America, or in any other kingdom or territory I shall come to, and do my utmost to extirpate the heretical Protestant or Masonic doctrines, and to destroy all their pretended powers, legal or otherwise. I do further promise and declare, notwithstanding I am dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagation of the Mother Church's interest, to keep secret and private all her agents' counsels from time to time as they entrust me, and not to divulge directly or indirectly by word, writing, or circumstances whatsoever, but to execute all that should be proposed, given in charge, or discovered unto me by you, my ghostly father, or any of this sacred order. And then it goes on to say, I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatsoever, even as a corpse or cadaver, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ. Does that sound like a holy order, or does that sound like some crazy, what am I trying to say? It's terrorism. It's just terrorism. It's a terrorist organization. And, yeah, Georgia, you say, what in the world? That's exactly right. It's in the world. Only it's not the militant. It's not militant Islam. It's the Society of Jesus. And this is going to blow your mind. How do I say this? It is a cult. It is a cult. There's documentation. There's verifiable documentation that that it is all smoke and mirrors. See, when the Knights Templar went to the Crusades, went to fight in the Crusades to regain the Holy Land from the Muslims, they went and they fought and did their thing, but when they came back, they were changed. They were they weren't the same. And long story short, in 1307, the Knights Templar were disbanded, and there were like 500 of the Knights Templar were burned at the stake by the French king and the Pope. All right? Why? The reason is because they had gained so much power, so much money, that the Vatican had borrowed money from them, I think. But the King of France had really borrowed money from them, a lot of money. And he couldn't pay it back. Not with the interest. He couldn't pay it back. So he colluded with the Pope and said, hey, let's do this. when if we shut them down and burn them all at the stake, I'm going to have to pay the money back. Matter of fact, we can charge them with crimes, which I don't know if they were guilty of any crimes or not, but they were guilty of crimes against the Roman Catholic Church. I guarantee you that, because they didn't play ball with the Vatican. They didn't play ball with the Pope like they once did. So what happened? What happened is they went to the Holy Land. They went to Jerusalem, and they actually became somewhat friends with the Muslims. And there is some proof, some documentation, proof that the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church invented Islam. Yes, I said that. Do I believe it? I don't know. I'm just saying that there is information that says that is one of the biggest things that the Jesuits did, that they've done through history, is that they actually created Islam. Why? Well, I just read to you why. To make and wage relentless war, secretly and openly, to turn people against each other, to make them hate each other, to make them murder each other. So, when you take the fact that the Freemasons, they have the Shriners, they're the Masla Shriners. They have the sword on their cap with the fez, with the tassel on top. They have the Islamic sword and star and moon. They have that. The Shriners. Yes, they did a good job. They always do. They're experts at it. Okay, listen to this. It says that I will go to any part of the world, wherever so I may be sent, to the frozen regions of the north, the jungles of India, to the centers of civilization of Europe, to the wild haunts of the barbarous savages of America, without murmuring or repining, and will be submissive in all things, whatever is communicated to me. Now, what they're talking about as far as the savages of America, they're talking about the American Indians. And let me tell you, the Jesuits, you talk about genocide, they came to America, and it was genocide to the Indians. People say, well, man, it's bad, we've, my race is, suffered and all this, I'm not taking anything away from that, but my God, the American Indians, they probably suffered more than any other race. I mean, it's like Chris Rock said, when's the last time you saw two Indians walking down the street together? You don't. Matter of fact, when's the last time you saw a Native American anywhere? You don't see them every day. You damn sure don't see two walking together. Why? Because they were friggin' wiped out. They were murdered. I mean, listen to this. This is sickening. This is sickening, and it is satanic, and it's wrong, it is demonic, and it's also very dangerous because they're so powerful, and they're everywhere. And they blend in. They're experts at blending in. And they have infiltrated Protestant churches, Baptist, Methodist, you name it. They're everywhere. I mean, and you don't know who they are. Listen to this. I do further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity exists, make and wage relentless war secretly and openly against all heretics, Protestants, and Masons, as I am directed to do, to exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, nor condition, and that will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls in order to annihilate their execrable race. Wow. That sounds a lot like Hitler, like the Third Reich, right? Well, it just so happens that the Pope, when Hitler came to power, was the Nazi. I mean, and there were many at that time. He may not have been a Nazi, but he sympathized with Hitler, and there are pictures of the Pope at the time. There's cardinals, there's bishops that are actually posing and with Hitler, wearing swastikas, and I mean, they were all for him. Matter of fact, when the war ended, those SS, soldiers, those guilty of war crimes, they were facing big time trouble. And so, where did they go? They went to their buddies at the Vatican. And the Vatican provided them with passports and dressed them as priests so they could escape to South America. At least those who weren't brought over by the United States in Project Paperclip. Yes, the Vatican, the worst of the worst, the Vatican gave them passports and basically dressed them in, vestures, in priests' vestures, and they're with us, and they were allowed to leave, and there you go. But that crushed their infant's head against the walls in order to annihilate their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisonous cup, the strangulation cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do so by any agents of the Pope or Superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Father of the Society of Jesus. Now you think about World War I starting when Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated. Who do you think did that? A Jesuit operative. Boom. You got World War I. Civil War. Same thing. It was funded by the Jesuits. John Wilkes Booth, Jesuit, assassinated the president, Abraham Lincoln. It's crazy. In confirmation of which I hereby dedicate my life, soul, and all corporal powers, and with the dagger which I now receive, I will subscribe my name written in my blood and testimony thereof. And should I prove false or weaken in my determination, may my brethren and fellow soldiers of the militia of the Pope cut off my hands and feet and my throat from ear to ear, and my belly be opened and sulfur burned therein, with all the punishment that can be inflicted upon me on earth, and that my soul shall be tortured by demons in eternal hell forever. Yeah, that's about a 10 on the insanity meter. I mean, okay, buddy. And that's just it. It is insane. It's psychotic, which is dangerous, because just like a suicide bomber, they're not afraid to die, and they're not afraid to take others with them. That I will, in voting, always vote for a Knight of Columbus in preference to a Protestant, especially a Mason, and that I will leave my party so to do, that if 2 Catholics are on the ticket, I will satisfy myself which is the better supporter of the Mother Church, and vote accordingly, that I will not deal with or employ a Protestant if my power to deal with or employ a Catholic, that I will place Catholic girls in Protestant families, that a weekly report may be made on the inner movements of the heretics. That's crazy. That I will provide myself with arms and ammunition, that I may be in readiness when the word is passed, or I am commanded to defend the Church, either as an individual or with the militia of the Pope. All of which I, and they sign their name, do swear by the Blessed Trinity and the Blessed Sacrament, which I am now to receive to perform, and on part to keep this my oath. In testimony hereof, I take this most holy and blessed sacrament of the Eucharist, and witness the same further with my name written with the point of this dagger, dipped in my own blood, and seal in the face of this holy sacrament. He receives the wafer from the Superior, and writes his name with the point of his dagger, dipped in his own blood taken from over his heart. The Superior says, you will now rise to your feet, and I will instruct you in the catechism necessary to make yourself known to any member of the Society of Jesus belonging to this rank. In the first place, you, as a brother Jesuit, will with another mutually make the ordinary sign of the cross, as any ordinary Roman Catholic would. When one crosses his wrists, the palm of his hands open, and in the other crosses his feet, one above the other, the first points with forefinger of the right hand to the center palm of the left, and the other with the forefinger to the left hand points to the center palm of the right. The first with his right hand makes the circle around his head, touching it, and the other then with the forefinger of his left hand touches the left side of his body just below his heart. The first then with his right hand draws it across the throat of the other, and the latter then with a dagger down the stomach and the abdomen of the first. So that's their kind of code or whatever. Brutal, yes. I mean, it gives brutality a whole new definition. I mean, it really. The point that I'm getting to is that it is terrorism is terrorism. Violence is violence. Murder is murder. Needless violence. Well, it's not needless to them. I mean, they are doing it for a reason. But so is militant Islam for whatever insane reason. So what's the difference? There is no difference. They're one and the same. And I believe that they're all controlled by the same hand, the same power. The first then says, Lustum, and the other answers Nakar. The first Regis, the other answers Impious. The first will then present a small piece of paper folded in a peculiar manner 4 times, which the other will cut longitudinally, and on opening the same, and on opening the name Jesu, Jesu, will be found written upon the head and arms of a cross 3 times. You will then give and receive with him the following questions and answers. This is really, really in-depth because they want to make sure that it's not somebody that's attempting to trick them or deceive them. From whither do you come? The answer, the Holy Faith. Whom do you serve? Answer, the Holy Father at Rome, the Pope, and the Roman Catholic Church universal throughout the world. Now, wouldn't you think that a Christian would, who do you serve? Wouldn't it be the Lord Jesus Christ and God the Father? No, not them. The Holy Father at Rome, the Pope, and the Roman Catholic Church universal throughout the world. Who commands you? Answer, the successor of St. Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Society of Jesus, or the soldiers of Jesus Christ. Who received you? Answer, a venerable man in white hair. How? Answer, with a naked dagger, I kneeling upon the cross beneath the banners of the Pope and of our sacred order. Did you take an oath? Answer, I did, to destroy heretics and their governments and rulers, and to spare neither age, nor sex, nor condition, to be as a corpse without any opinion or will of my own, but to implicitly obey my superiors in all things without hesitation or murmuring. Will you do that? The answer is, I will. How do you travel? Answer, in the bark of Peter the fisherman. Whither do you travel? To the 4 quarters of the globe. For what purpose? To obey the orders of my general and superiors, and execute the will of the Pope, and faithfully fulfill the conditions of my oath. Go ye then into the world, and take possessions of all lands in the name of the Pope. He who will not accept him as the vicar, or the substitute, of Jesus Christ, and his vice-regent on earth, let him be accursed, and exterminate him. So, that's pretty hardcore, and I know that was a lot of reading and everything, but I just wanted you to get the really, I mean, from the horse's mouth. That is absolutely just unbelievable, and there's many things, like I said, about the Titanic. It who knows? I mean, who knows if they sink the Titanic? But it does make sense. And then there's the Jesuits. When you get right down to it, they're not actually Catholic, believe it or not. Well, they wear a Catholic mask. The Jesuits go back to, or there's, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of Jews that are Jesuits. And Zionism has been said to have been created by the Jesuits. What does Zionism, what does it do? What does it endorse? What does it thrive on? The conflict that has been since recorded history between the Palestinians and the Israelis. That's big time, and it's made them a lot of money. The Rothschilds were all Jesuits. They're the ones that funded every war since Napoleon. I mean, Napoleon, when he came to power, he kicked the Jesuits out. No more. At one time, Spain kicked all the Jesuits out. And the Jesuits are the only order, the only Catholic order that have ever been kicked out of countries. Why? Because they're dangerous. I mean, they they destroy the country from inside out. I'll say that again. They destroy the country from inside out. They don't attack from the outside. They don't invade a country. They infiltrate a country. They work their way into government positions, into positions of power, and then they go to work. To where a country is destroyed from the inside out, not by being attacked from the outside. The Jesuits, from 1900 to the year 2000, have engaged in biowarfare and genocide by the American Medical and Dental Associations, the Food and Drug Administration, and Rome's Holy Office of the Inquisition, other under names. The Jesuits, since the year 2000, economic communism and political fascism in the American Empire, creating international anti-Jewish fury, creating anti-Americanism, depression, anarchy, race wars, martial law, foreign wars, and invasions, the destruction of the empire's heretic Protestants, Baptists, and Jews, as well as liberal Roman Catholics, pursuant to the Jesuit conspiracy, the secret plan of the order, the Jesuit oath, and the Council of Trent, and the Jew room, which I'll talk about that next time. But when you think about it, the empire's destruction of the heretic Protestants, Baptists, and Jews, Methodist, Pentecostal, any Protestants that were part of the protest when it was like, I don't know, 500 years ago, some 400 or 500 years ago. Okay, which brings up something that I want to talk about, and then we'll call it a night, but is Pope Francis. This was like 2 years ago. Pope Francis was in a meeting with the Pentecostal word faith charlatan, con man, Kenneth Copeland. And Kenneth Copeland, he's the richest televangelist in the world. His net worth is, supposedly over $1 billion. And he lives here in Texas. I mean, not even 50 miles away from us. Has his own airstrip, collection of airplanes, lives in this mansion. I mean, the guy's got money flowing, and he's got so much power. I mean, there's people that just like worship him like he's God on earth. But what he did is he proved his true colors. I mean, big time. And it was this. He was having a big time meeting with thousands of people that were actually there at this location, and via satellite to millions around the world. And he was talking with a bishop that was very, very close to and directly served Pope Francis. And Kenneth Copeland comes up. I could not believe, well, I mean, I could, but it was still shocking. Kenneth Copeland comes up and he says, we have a speaker here. So this guy gets up to speak. Tony Palmer was his name. Gets up to speak, and he's from the Vatican. And he says, I'm just here on behalf of Pope Francis. He says, I just want to say that 500 years ago, give or take, 500 years ago, he says there was a misunderstanding. There was a misunderstanding with certain people in the mother church. The mother church. He says that led to the Protestant movement, of which you all here are a part of. He says, but when there's nothing to protest, and the mother church opens her arms and forgives you, then we're all one family under the mother church. And Kenneth Copeland, who has to be the goofiest human being to ever walk this planet, jumps up and says, "Glory to God." And I'm like, what in the hell? I mean, I think I would be using other words and terms before I rearranged this guy's face. I think a good overhand right to the jaw would have been great to just like knock him off the podium. And what did you just say? I mean, are you serious? No, Kenneth Copeland, glory to God, that's the truth. We're all one big family. And I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? I mean, yeah, he was serious. And, well, the Vatican has so much money. And I'm thinking, you are scum. I mean, you are the worst scum and there's people there that are looking at each other. They're shocked. I mean, they don't know what to think. And so Kenneth Copeland has to like really amp things up, which he's really good at that. And, just almost demonic, just this, the look on his face, and he's like, like a pep rally, and he's just getting people all excited and everything, And people start looking at each other, and they're like, they stop questioning it, and they're like, well, yeah, we are one family. Yes, That's not what this guy said. He said, we're all one family under the mother church, talking about the Roman Catholic Church. So all those Protestants who took a stand against the sins of Rome, the abuses of Rome, the abuse of the Vatican and Roman Catholicism against human beings, the Inquisition, the Crusades, those that were murdered, those that were killed because they refused to submit to the Pope in Rome. Was their death in vain? Well, to these people that are saying yes, that Protestants need to go back and go back under the umbrella, which is the term Kenneth Copeland used. We all need to be under the umbrella of the Mother Church. And I'm thinking, it'll be a cold day in hell before you see me under that umbrella. I mean, hell can freeze over, and you'll see me skating on the ice before that happens. I'm not going to be part of... well, first of all, I'm not going to submit to any pope, any man. And second of all, it's damn sure not going to be the Vatican. And, but Kenneth Copeland's like, well, he says, we've got a big surprise for you. And I'm thinking, you idiot. I mean, good God. I swear, I think they cloned Howdy Doody and put like, even if you can comprehend this, I mean, they found brain cells that were actually less intelligent than Howdy Doody had, and they put them in Kenneth Copeland because Kenneth Copeland looks like an adult Howdy Doody, and he's a dummy. I mean, he is ignorant. Is he a good con man? Well, yeah, he's a good con man. But goofy? Oh, man. He is a goofball. So, he gets up, he says, we've got the man himself, the Pope of the Catholic Church, via satellite. And flip on the they open these curtains or whatever, and the satellite comes on, and it's like, oh, so that's the Pope. I thought Jabba the Hutt sitting there, like Pope Francis, all sitting there with all of his chins and everything. He's just sitting there with a grin on his face, and I'm thinking, the hell is this? And he's speaking, of course, Italian, so they're translating it, and he's talking about how the church forgives every Protestant that that's part of that went away from the mother church and is now part of a Protestant denomination, and that the mother church forgives them. I'm like, I don't want your forgiveness. I mean, seriously. Like if somebody said, if you will accept the Pope's forgiveness, you will not go to hell. I'd be like, you know what? Give me a ticket to hell, because I would rather be in hell than to receive his forgiveness. Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And yeah, I would rather burn in hell, whatever, than to have this pompous, arrogant person this man who claims to be the substitute on earth for Jesus Christ. No, I don't need him. I can have I can have my own personal experience with Jesus Christ. I don't need a pope. I don't need a bishop. I don't need a cardinal. I don't need a priest as a middleman. Get out of my way. You're obstructing my view. You're obstructing my path. Yes. Pope Francis, if you're in my way, move. It's just, it's that simple. Yeah. You are a man. You're not God. You're not the creator. Did you create me? Did you create this world? I don't think so. So, therefore, you're just a man. And when you're standing there wearing your tiara and your robe and with all your diadems and jewels, just get out of my way. I don't know. You're really aggravating me and kind of giving me a headache, so just move. But Kenneth Copeland finally gets everyone there to start. They're excited, Oh yeah, we can all come together. And what Pope Francis is, talking about, what he's alluding to, is not just the Protestants. He's talking about the whole damn world. He's talking about the whole world. What does that mean? It means that he's talking about a one world religious system, a one world religion, where the Pope at the Vatican is in charge of the religious part, is in charge of religion, global religion. But he goes even further and says that the world needs a political head. And I'm thinking, man, you're really not too bright, are you? Because you can see that a mile away. What's he doing? He's setting up a one world religious political order. It's just plain as day. And the scary part about it is he he has the money, and he has the power. I mean, man, the guy has got the power of the world system to do it, and not to just do it, but to, I guess you could say, enforce it, which wouldn't be anything new. It would just be on a bigger scale of, telling people either accept, bow down to the Pope, or we're going to kill you. I love the movie 300. I love when Leonidas says, I've got this problem with my knee. And I seriously, I happen to have a problem with my right knee. So, you know what, Pope? I'm sorry, but all your boys here, all your Jesuit boys that, are going to think they're going to turn me into a pincushion, and they may. I'm not going to bow. I have a problem with my knee, so that's not going to happen. Matter of fact, I would rather die than to bow down to the Pope, who is by what I see, by what I have researched, he's not Pope because he's such a good guy. He's Pope because he is a powerful, manipulative, megalomaniac. So I have no respect for somebody like that. I have no respect for someone that actually has an order like the Jesuits that he was a part of. Again, he's the first Jesuit Pope. So, did he take that oath that I just read to you? Yes, he did. Yeah, about bashing babies' brains out, about ripping them out of their mother's womb. You know what? I'm not even going to talk to you. I could go a lot. I could say a lot of things, but I'm not going to. Yeah, no. Somebody that takes an oath like that and seriously means it, and is supposedly the substitute, or he's the physical representation of Jesus on earth. You know what? Screw you. Yeah, screw you. I don't remember Jesus going around taking oaths and saying that he's going to bash babies' brains out, which I believe is actually the abortion mills, and which is the Vatican. Excuse me, is all for that. They're all for abortion, and seem to be. It's like, well, you can't use birth control, but so what does that lead to? It leads to abortions. People, it's just crazy. It's just a horrible cycle. And so Jesus said too, he said, what is done in the darkness will be revealed, will be shouted from the rooftops. What is said in the darkness will be shouted from the rooftops. What's he saying? He's saying truth will surface. Truth will be known. Why? Because truth makes itself known. Every time. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. I love that. So, have fun in the darkness while you still can, because the light is beginning to shine, and when it does, the darkness must flee. I mean, it can't be dark where the light is. So, and what is light? It's knowledge. What is darkness? It's ignorance, hatred. So who's in the darkness and who's in the light? Well, you do the math on that. And I think it's very sad that so many are afraid to speak out against the Jesuits and other orders and other organizations because they're quote unquote so powerful. Look at the harm they're doing. Look at the hatred they're causing. Look at what they've done so far. And God only knows what they have planned next, But I think that this is where a lot of the racial problems come from, the race wars or whatever. I think that's where it's just hate. I think that's where hate is manufactured. Hate is promulgated. And people say, well, it's not necessarily the Jesuits. Well, yes it is. Most of it is. It's just that they're not going to say, oh yeah, I'm a Jesuit, They may not be a priest, but they're Jesuits. And like I said, they're all over the place. Just like who funded Washington D.C. to be, built? To be founded. I was a Jesuit. Come on. And then when which next podcast I'll talk about this, but when you do the study, you go back and you find out that they're really not even they're really not even Christian. Their roots go way back to Babylon and Chaldea, to the Babylonian mysteries, and we're talking it's different gods, goddesses that they worship, and none of it has to do with the original teachings of Jesus, which, if you read the Bible or if you read the teachings of Jesus, it was two things, basically. Two things. Love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, do I want somebody to kill me? Do I want to see someone kill a woman? Do I want to see someone kill a baby? Do I want to see somebody rip a baby out of a woman's stomach? No. Did Jesus teach any of that? Even remotely? No. So where does it come from? Well, call it what you want to, but it comes from the mystery teachings of Babylon way back, and that's what I'm talking about, is way back, and I'll talk about that next podcast, about those gods, those mindsets, those archons that were deified and were worshipped in ancient Babylon, and which is the oldest, well, Babylon, Sumer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it goes back to the beginning of mankind, I suppose, and to where Christianity, people say, well, Jesus started Christianity. No, he didn't. Jesus didn't start Christianity. Really? I mean, do you really think that, Jesus was sitting around and says, okay, we're going to start this religion. It's going to be called Christianity. I don't remember reading that in the Bible. Truth is Christianity was not even accepted in the Roman Empire as a religion until I believe it was 345 or something like that. Hold on, just let me check my notes, because this is really amazing, because people are like, Jesus, who started Christianity? Jesus did. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? You really think he did? Well, hell yeah, he did, man. It's like, no, he didn't. Don't you start that with me. Don't you start that devil stuff. That's Antichrist. No, it's truth. It's truth, something that, people need more of. The Roman Catholic Church, they're the ones that started modern day Christianity. And I'm not taking away from Christianity. I'm just saying that today's Christianity is not the original Christianity. In fact, it's just the opposite, in my opinion. And I just read it here. What is being taught in the supposed, Christian groups and everything, the Society of Jesus and everything, and it's nothing but terrorism. I mean, it's just terrorism, plain and simple. But let me see here. Okay. The Roman persecution of Christians ended in AD 324 when Constantine the Great decreed tolerance for the religion. He then called the First Council of Nicaea in AD 325, beginning the period of the first 7 ecumenical councils. So, at the Council of Nicaea, that's when the books were chosen that make up the modern day Bible. And let's see. And as far as Jesus being declared divine, let's see. Jesus was not even declared to be divine until the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. Now that's pretty shocking, because people think, well, everybody knew that he was the Son of God. I mean, that he was divine, because the church said so. The Mother Church. No, the Mother Church didn't. So, what's up? I mean, I'm not saying that he's not, but I'm just saying, what took so long? And then it goes on and on about about Mary, about her, the virgin birth of Jesus. That was something that had to be decided upon. It's not, something that was just fact. It was something that the divinity of Jesus had to receive a decisive sanction through a close vote at Nicaea in 325 AD by the Roman Catholic Church. Constantine did call this council together because he wanted peace and unity in the church. The council had from 216 to 316 bishops from around most of the Christendom in attendance, but the vast majority were from the East. It says there was no close vote. What the bishops did was sign a creedal statement known as the Nicene Creed. Only 2 out of the entire group refused, so the vote was hardly close. Most politicians would view it as a landslide, a 99% plus majority. But nevertheless, Jesus died, it's been said he died in 33 AD. Well, this is almost 300 years later when they're saying that he's divine. Wow. It's amazing. So, there's a lot of different things to that. A lot of different things like that. And, but anyway, any questions, comments, or whatever before we call it a night? And next podcast we'll go in detail about what the Jesuits do. We'll name names, name instances where things weren't really what they seem to be. We'll go deeper into governments and how that every part and parcel of our lives are basically controlled by the Jesuits and the Vatican from Rome. Anyway, Well, love and light to y'all. Thank you all. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Mona, for taking part in the live chat. Thank you for those of you that listened and didn't take part in the chat. And thank you for those of you who are listening to the replay. If you want to contact me, you can email me at thetexorcistpodcast@gmail.com if you have any ideas or topics that you want to discuss or talk about. Anyway, I'm going to say good night from Texas. See you next time.